Welcome in everyone to our first episode of Inside Texas Baseball. I'm joined here with Nash Talks Texas, your favorite graph maker on Twitter, and of course Randy Boone, a national champion and former Longhorn pitcher from the mid 2000s. How are y'all doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Just a reminder, y'all, make sure you go over to those Inside Texas boards for the On Three here. We got a lot of great baseball content coming out. Nash is pumping some stuff out. I'm at pretty much every game nowadays, so we got you covered for the baseball season. And of course, we're here to talk with Randy about so much about this new Texas baseball team. Randy, first of all, just I want to know, as a pitcher, what players have piqued your interest early in the season?
There's several. Kind of you didn't hear a whole lot of info or whatever, which thank you guys for kind of bring a little bit more insider info into the program and some more attention to the program. I'm glad that there's some people in the space now that they're allowing us a little bit more information than what we had in the past. But I mean, I think your Friday and Saturday starters between Spencer and Harrison have been really intriguing so far. Harrison bouncing back off injury, obviously, but his stuff has looked really good. Spencer's stuff looked really good. Obviously, last weekend, weather and everything is kind of hard. I would lend more to them repeating similar appearances from the opening weekend than trying to pitch in 30, 40 degree weather. But I really like the Volantis kid. I got to see him at the alumni game. Big guy, physical guy, and he's got some really good stuff to work with. And just something else that's jumped out at me is I like Duplantier's new arm angle. He's always kind of been thought of as a team guy. I think I'm not around the program, but he seems like he has the respect of everybody within the program. And if he can continue to throw the way he's thrown, I think he can be an interesting piece moving forward.
Yeah, Duplantier, yeah, absolute team guy right there. I did want to ask. I know you played with this guy, and he was on the national championship team. He's been around Texas baseball probably more than anybody. He probably cares most about Texas baseball more than anybody. Uh, what are your thoughts on Drew Bishop? Drew Bishop joining the Texas staff, and what kind of impact do you think he's going to have on the team?
Well, I thought it was a great decision to bring him back. First of all, Drew's an extremely talented guy. Unfortunately, he kind of derailed with some injuries or whatever. But he was. You talk about team guys. He was definitely a team guy for us. He made his contributions in other ways than probably the way he saw his career going. But I think he was an integral piece of the program from the time he stepped on campus as a player. He was definitely integral after he stepped away, and then obviously he kind of changed gears there for a little bit. But I'm glad to see him back. And as you said, I don't think there's there may be people that care as much as him about the Texas program, but I don't think anybody cares more than he does. So it's great to see him back. It's good to talk to him from time to time, and I think he's back where he's supposed to be.
Maybe Scott Wilson. Maybe Scott Wilson back here.
Yeah, it's a valid point. He may have him there. He may have him there.
Yeah, and of course, when you get guys like Bishop in the house, and you have Tulowitzki there, and the big name Jim Schlossnagle, Max Wiener, the aspirations continue to get higher for Texas baseball as if they're not already sky high as one of the most impactful programs in the history of the sport. Randy, when you see a roster, having been on one already, what makes for and what's kind of the skeleton of a championship roster? And are there any like early signs that you're seeing in comparison with 2005 and 2025 that might be lofty early on, but just anything you're seeing?
I think first of all, you look for some veteran leadership. We were fortunate the time that we were very successful is that was the case. Had some really 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 good veteran guys that had been around, had seen a couple things. Not necessarily guys that were always the most successful. You'd seen them kind of struggle, go up and down, so they could relate. So I think there's a lot of that on this team, which obviously there's been some success in years past, but there's also been some struggles. So I think them having been through a different coaching staff where the message may have been different than what they're hearing now, they can kind of help relate that to the younger guys. And then honestly, just overall athleticism and just presence, physicality wise, I think you've seen a change in philosophy there just within 1 year of the guys they've brought in. You got some big athletic physical dudes that are obviously extremely talented. But they have some, I'm going to call it baseball awareness. I've seen some baseball awareness plays so far this year there's some really interesting pieces. I think the coaching staff is going to earn their money this year trying to figure out exactly how to piece all those together, especially on the pitching side. Um, but the talent level to me has kind of taken a jump, and the athleticism I think plays into that.
I think a great example of that baseball awareness that you just talked about is Ethan Mendoza when the
Yep.
third baseman is playing back and playing a little bit further back, playing closer to second base. Hey, let's drop a bunt down the line. Let's see if we can make something happen. Put the ball in play, make them throw the ball, make them have a chance to throw an error. So
Yeah, no,
love to see the
catalyst in the
baseball
Sunday
IQ.
game. Yeah, absolute catalyst in the Sunday game right there. I think
Oh,
that sort of
absolutely.
set the tone and got it going.
I did have a question about so you grew up you obviously became a pitcher. Is there a favorite pitcher that you had growing up as a kid?
Nolan Ryan, hands
I
down.
figured I figured you can.
Yeah, no, unfortunately I didn't throw quite as hard as he did. But no, I still have VHS tapes at my parents' house sitting on the shelf that, man, one day maybe I'll convert them over to DVDs and show them to my kids. But it's the Tom House, Nolan Ryan, How to Be a Pitcher. I don't Feel the Heat, I think was the name of one of them. But yeah, no, I grew up watching. If he was on TV, which obviously back then was a little different than what it is now, so you had to kind of search that out more so. But if he was on TV, I was watching.
Something interesting about Nolan Ryan and his speed that you mentioned. I don't think there's anybody that throws as hard as him. I think he's the only one. And I watched this fastball documentary that they put out a couple years back, and uh, Nolan Ryan they were measuring the speed at the plate, and that's where they used to measure the speed for him, and he was hitting 102 and stuff like that.
Mm.
Now they're measuring at the mound, and they
Right.
were saying, hey, if you do the math, dude's pumping anywhere from 107 to 111.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and the technology advances in baseball have been just astronomical. But that's one where the radar and the TrackMan and spin rates and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, as you said back in the day, yeah, you threw 100, they were catching that thing at the front of home plate, not when it left your hand.
Definitely. Well, I don't know how many Texas Longhorns right now have that Nolan Ryan velocity. We have a few, like Jared Spencer, who started this Friday series. First sweep of the season for Texas baseball, going up to 5-1 against Dartmouth. Not really the final scores you'd maybe be hoping for as a Texas fan against an Ivy League school, but a win's a win all the same, and it's helping you out your resume. Randy, what did you see from this first series?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it just matters if you score one more run than your opponent. And the way college baseball is structured, they don't care how much you win by, but if you start losing games like that, then that's where you kind of get punished for those second tier or third tier losses. But it's a team that found a way to win. I'll say that. Obviously weather conditions weren't optimal. Took advantage of a couple things that went their way. You got the flare double there on the Saturday game that sort of just got kicked around. But I'm a big believer. I've seen a lot of baseball games in that you make your own luck. And if you keep pressing the envelope and doing good things, then I think things kind of set up your way moving forward. They played. I think we can get better defensively, but so far we've been pretty good defensively. I think we have the athleticism to become a better defensive team than what we have been in the past. But for the most part, I mean, we're throwing strikes, we're attacking the zone. Offensively, I like the approach. Got to cut down on the strikeouts a little bit. I think that's going to be a concern and something to monitor moving forward. But I think it's a lineup that you can look at 1 through 9. And you talked about Mendoza earlier. There's no so-called let up or hey, maybe this guy I can just sort of cruise through this at bat. I think everybody's going to give you a good at bat, and be interested to see where it goes moving forward.
And I will say, in the case of Mendoza, especially, it's that second leadoff man seems to be something that Schlossnagle really appreciates of Mendoza's, and you might see him fight for that leadoff spot. Of course, Schuessler's got that earned until he doesn't have it. His OBP is still good to start the season, but yeah, Mendoza is a great early surprise. I think on the other side of the transfer things, maybe you want to see a little more from Easton Winfield, personnel wise. He's struggling with that high fastball, similar to like Jalen Flores was doing that a little bit. I didn't think many of the bats were bad to the series, maybe apart from Winfield, but even he was pulling these balls that were just foul. It looked like they were bombs off the bat, maybe in better weather. Speaking of better weather, Mendoza's almost home run there on that first game. But what really stuck out to me on the pitching side of things is you saw a lot of pitchers that, pump in the zone the way that Schlossnagle likes it. And that's been a thing that he's talked about to us in the press availabilities. He likes these guys that really hit the zone. That's why Luke Harrison has earned that starting job. But especially in the case of like Volantis, it's getting people who are getting the ball onto the ground and getting into the hands of Rodriguez, into the hands of Mendoza, into the hands of Flores, and just letting them make plays. That's something that will translate even when you're playing in the SEC. It's not just that Dartmouth has bad hitters. These guys are going to get ground balls in the SEC, and that's an important way to get players out. Nash, what did you see from the pitches there?
I mean, a lot of ground balls. I think that it sounds like counterintuitive as a pitcher. I mean, when you're pitching, you want to pitch to contact, right? Like you want players to hit the ball. You just don't want the ball flying over the fence, right? Like you have to trust your defense. You just got to trust your stuff. And I think you're seeing the pitchers. You're seeing that effect. Last year, when we have some errors that kind of are a little bit unfortunate, and what that in turn does is now all of a sudden now the pitcher that becomes a lonely little island up there. You're standing up there all on your own. Even if somebody does recognize the error, you're still going to probably get a little bit of the blame on that at the end of the day. And you start to try to paint around the strike zone, and you start to throw balls, you start to walk guys, and these things start to compound over time, just little by little, and then it equals runs and it equals losses. I like the confidence that you see Max Weiner is instilling in these guys. One thing that I think that you've seen kind of early on, not just in this Dartmouth series, is they're really trying to put Will Mercer in this closer role. And
Yeah.
I thought, he really struggled when he came out against Dartmouth here, but I thought, man, hey, you know what? That kind of looked like a sign that maybe they're still going to try and get him in that role, but they just kind of want to. And maybe I want to get your input on this, Randy. It kind of seemed like, hey, let's just limit the mental damage because pitching is a very mental position, and let's limit the damage. He threw like one strike out of 7 pitches. Let's just limit the damage and let's bring him back another time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I haven't seen him throw his bullpens or anything like that, but he definitely has the stuff to do it. And I saw him in the alumni game, and he's mid to upper 90s with fastballs. Got a pretty good aggressive little cutter there, and a good breaking ball. So I mean, the stuff's definitely there for him to assume that role. Him being an older guy, veteran guy that's been around, seen a lot of stuff. You like that. I think there's other guys on the staff that I've seen that, should he not be able to take that role, that have the ability to do so. But I would agree. I think it was sort of a, hey, let's reset this thing, get him back in the bullpen, and get this thing moving forward. But I will say that, in the opening weekend, I'm a big roles guy. I don't know if you've probably heard me argue with Paul about this. I would have preferred in that opening game to slap Ruger on the butt and say, hey, man, great job, and flip the ball to Will with a 2-run lead in the ninth, and just say, hey, if you're the guy, then you're the guy. It's a tough situation, especially for a guy that hadn't pitched that much in the last couple of years to come in with runners on second, third. Obviously, he punched out the first guy and had the opportunity to get out of it. But so I think that kind of played into their decision to, hey, let's little quicker hook here. Let's get him out. Let's reset this thing. We don't want this thing to blow up on us. But from a stuff standpoint, I mean, you got to like what you see out of him. Hopefully he can, kind of reset the ship and get ready moving forward if he is the guy that they want for that role.
I mean, it's clear he has a lot of stuff because he's both years, 2024 and 2025 in the fall, he was the number one name as a pitcher. Unfortunately, gets injured, can't play 2024, but allows us to get him in 2025. Hopefully it comes to the field.
Yeah, and you brought up Ruger there, Randy, and I think it's the same thing happened in both of these appearances he's coming into. You can't let him get into that fourth inning, unfortunately. It's almost like a starter getting that second time in the order, like the modern game in the MLB. You see players getting hooked in the fourth and fifth because players are seeing them for the second time. I think Ruger's really nasty when he gets that first pitch in, especially paired with Spencer when he's not really pumping the gas, but he's got that really nice off-speed pitch. And you saw it against Louisville, you saw it against Dartmouth. He can't get into that extra inning. And I think that might be something where if Spencer can give you 5 and Ruger can give you 3, you're in a great spot. Maybe you've only given up 2 runs in an SEC game, but that's where a closer is just so important and such an important, like you said, a role in this sport. So whether that is Mercer, maybe Duplantier makes a push for it. There's plenty of talent. Burns looked great on Friday. There's plenty of talent on this team. It's more just about, hey, do we have enough time to get that ironed out before SEC play? And if we don't have enough time for Mercer, then is there someone else that can come in and do that?
Yeah, my camera messed up and I had to leave. Ruger's excellent when he's in the first 8 batters. First 8 batters, both appearances, it's combined 1 hit, 6 strikeouts, 0 balls on 0 base on balls, 0 earned runs. This dude, like you said, I mean, hey, I'll take 3 innings of elite pitching anywhere I can get it.
Yeah, and I don't know what their structure's been in the fall. If they're trying to stretch him out a little bit or whatnot. But like I said, I just my whole philosophy on everything is just big on, hey, here's your job, you go do your job. Now it's time for somebody else to do their job. And I think he has done his job. Unfortunately, his numbers don't look great right now because of that, that extension or whatever you want to call it. But I'm the coaching staff's not dumb. I'm sure they're telling him like, hey man, like dude, your numbers aren't. You've pitched way better than that, and he knows that too. So.
Yeah, and I think as we transition a little bit, we've talked a little bit about Max Weiner and some of the other coaches, but for some of our fans, they really want to know, hey, we spent all this money, we plucked this coach from Texas A&M, was in the Natty last year. What are we seeing from Jim Schlossnagle that's maybe a little different than David Pierce? Are there positive signs of some things that you want to see a little bit more of? I thought to you, Nash, first, like what are some major differences that you're seeing between the two?
One, I really think that you're seeing a big difference in the approach on the mound. There is it's a pretty, I want to say, determined plan is might be a good way to say it. They're going out there with a clear, hey, we want to throw guys around 4 innings. We want our starter going around 4 innings, and we'll kind of figure out who the contributors are going to be after that. And then also on the defensive side, you can see David Pierce, he'd like to tinker with the lineup. He'd like to get some guys in and give some rest days. If you've been listening to not Steve Sarkisian, Jim Schlossnagle, he is not doing that. He's not playing that game.
No.
He's going to find his guys, and you're going to play. And we're trying to win. We're trying to win baseball games here.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's going to find his squad, or he has found his squad at this point, and he's going to give them a predetermined amount of time. Whether that be a month or whatever, and be like, hey, this is what I saw in the fall. This is what we believe in, and we're going to go with that. And then if he has to make an adjustment, he will. But I think he's going to take the approach of, you're my guys. You've earned our trust and our confidence, and we're going to give you a long leash, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and you've seen in the first 6 games of the season, we've had 6 different starters play every single game and start every single game. Mendoza and Galvan have played in every single game. That's 8 of your 9 right there. Winfield's been the starter for 5 of those 5. Bun Chamberlain have come in. But yeah, 100% I agree with you, Nash. There's been a lot of continuity in the outfield, specifically the corners. Rodriguez and Farmer are 2 young guys who have just already earned the spots, it seemed. It seemed like they've already taken it. For me, as a reporter who covered the David Pierce team, who's seen the players talk about the coach, and hearing Jim Schlossnagle talk, something I value a lot in college athletics is just a coach being able to maintain a culture and be the leader of that culture. And I know you hear way too much with Steve Sarkisian, but this has been a thing that you've seen in pretty much any national champion in any sport you can find. It's about establishing a group of players that believe in the coaching staff. And you're seeing these players, they almost sound like robots the way they're repeating the same things and talking about their mottos, their team energy, their goals for each other. And it seems like the players are friendlier with each other than they were. Not to say that David Pierce couldn't instill culture. That would be disrespectful to a great coach. But it seems like these players are really connected in ways that seem a little different. You're seeing it with the Skull chant. That's a freshman. Drew Rarick is a freshman who is already instilling so much positivity and so much fandom into this team that I think you weren't really seeing as much. And speaking of the freshmen, Schlossnagle's giving a lot of opportunities to see young players. I think that comes with, nothing's earned when a new coaching staff comes in. And you're seeing, hey, Farmer, you're seeing with Volantis, Rarick's a pitcher who's played a little bit. Obviously, Adrian Rodriguez. The youngsters are getting their chances already. And I think that's a really positive thing when they're playing this well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think baseball is an inherently difficult sport. There's not a whole lot of reward until you get to the end of the game, and then hopefully, people say the fun is in the winning. Well, that's great if you're winning a lot, but most days when they're out there working, it's a practice, and there is no final scoreboard up at the end. So you have to find ways to instill the fun in the game, and whether that's in competition, camaraderie. whatever it is. But just so far this year, it seems like the not to disparage anything in the past years or whatever, but seems like the group is like you said, kind of together, and looks like they're really enjoying being on the field, which is a key component.
Well, and
Yeah,
sometimes winning can be really deceptive. You can win and
Yes.
play really bad, and I think you even heard Jim Schlossnagle in one of his post game press conferences. He talked about, hey, we didn't look so great out there today, but I'm not going to go get on. I'm not going to go get on them. I'm not going to go yell at them or anything like that. I'm going to kind of, we'll talk about it. We'll say, hey, we could have done these things better. We'll have a conversation going into the next game, and then we'll just try and move on. But now's not time to be yelling at these guys.
exactly. And as we go through some more of this live show, we are going to throw it to Homer to talk about Luxe Kitchen and Bath.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
Thank you, LC, and your fantastic beard in that promo. We're going to go early into some reassuring signs here with this Texas ball club. We've seen obviously the wins are coming in the column, but this is a long season, and you have a lot that needs to be taken inventory as you head into what we'll talk to later, this Las Vegas Classic this week. And so, Randy, what are some reassuring signs that you're seeing early on that's giving you some positive light?
On the mound, honestly, like we've alluded to already, it's aggressiveness in the zone. I think as you move up the ladder in baseball, your ability to get people out in the zone becomes paramount because hitters get better, discipline gets better. That's not to say you have to make people swing and miss in the zone. Like you said, we can induce ground balls. We can, if you're a fly ball guy, just the amount of weak contact you can create. I remember a guy I played with, JP Howe, who went on to obviously a great big league career. Coach Harmon always said, he's going to pitch in the big leagues because nobody can square him up. I obviously had an unbelievable curveball and generated tons of swing and misses, but he'd get in an advantage count for a hitter, and people just could not square him up. So, I think there's some guys on this staff that have that ability to get the ball off the barrel, even if they're behind in the count, and generate swings and misses also. But just aggressiveness in the zone. Like, hey, if you're going to beat me, you're going to have to earn it. The walk numbers aren't quite probably what we would like, but a lot of those are in some of the I'm going to call them the bad innings we've had. The other thing too is we're pitching inside. I know we've hit our fair share so far. Some of those are just misses and pulls, but there's been some aggressiveness on the inner half that I like. So from a pitching standpoint, I think the talent's there. How they figure out how to mix and match is going to kind of determine how this thing plays out. But it'll be interesting to watch that moving forward. And then, like I said, from the offensive standpoint, I say this quite a bit. I think this team will hit. I think it's definitely going to be a team that will hit. How well they play offense is yet to be determined. You can have a bunch of guys that go 1 for 3, 2 for 3 over the course of a game. But can you string those together? Can you make productive outs? Can you get the big hit when it matters? You can be at the end of a game and say, hey, we had X number of hits and you score 1 run. So I think the hit tools there, and then how they learn to play offense together will be an interesting thing. Mendoza dropping a bunt the other day, getting things going. Stuff like that, I think will play a big factor in this thing moving forward. But it's an exciting team. I think the energy around the program is rightfully reinvigorated. So we're excited as alumni and old guys to see this thing hopefully take off.
Yeah, I really like how you said that right there, because there is a difference between hitting a baseball and running offense on on a baseball field. Uh, how good of jumps are you getting? Reads, 50-50 reads. All these little things that again
Absolutely.
they add up. And when you're in the games in the SEC, where hey, we're tied 4-5 or something, or we're tied 4-4, right? Or something. Just it's a close game. How are we going to scratch off these runs if we got to manufacture runs? Manufacture runs. That's a big part of baseball. One thing that I'm seeing that's kind of early reassuring side on the offensive side. These guys are, like you said, the hits are going to come. These guys are hitting the crap out of the baseball, right? The weather was not, it was not conducive for balls flying around a lot this last weekend. But even then, even when we did have inside the dome, we were still we were hitting atom balls. We were hitting balls straight to guys, straight to the left fielder, straight to like Kimball Schuster probably had 2 doubles that were
Mhm.
hit straight to
Yeah.
outfielders on Sunday. So these guys, they're getting great exit velo. The numbers are there. This is if they keep on doing this, the ball's just by the average, law of averages, right? The ball's going to fall, and you're gonna start to see more hits come. Uh, on the pitching side, pitching strikes and then also ground balls. We're getting a high ground ball percentage right now. I'm looking at Dylan Volantis, 69.2% ground balls. Jared Spencer, 65.0% ground balls. Luke Harrison, 58.3% ground balls. Like this is good stuff. And then if they're not getting ground balls, they're likely getting fly balls. So and that's how you get outs.
Yeah, 100%. And to echo the pitching sentiment, last year at this time, to kick off March, they played in the Minute Maid Classic. Texas gave up 31 runs in 3 games, and now they haven't even given up, or they've only given up more than 5 runs in one game, and that was against Oklahoma State, where Texas's offense was just outpacing Oklahoma State at that point. So just the pitching overall, by a number standpoint, is far superior at the start of the season, and that's coming with a staff that didn't really have a true number one pitcher coming into the year. Like Jared Spencer was obviously seen as this high transfer portal addition, but he wasn't a starter coming into this year. And so him and Harrison both transitioning to that role is really important for the team. I also, I mentioned it earlier, but these youngsters, man, it's so good to see that like the guys that you were worried about coming in are the ones that are playing well. Of our top 5 OPS hitters, just by numbers, 4 of them are underclassmen. 2 of them are newcomers. One of them is a true freshman, Adrian Rodriguez. Rodriguez is someone that Schlossnagel and the players were hyping up to the moon, to the ends of the earth, and he's more than shown that was worth the hype. He was hitting well. He was hitting for power, hitting for contact. Mendoza had an absurd weekend. I was not expecting that, honestly, and he's going to make a push for that leadoff role by the time we get to SEC play. Again, like I said, I think it's Schussler's to lose, but I think Mendoza's been great. Farmer has shown some really good at bats. He hits the ball hard. He's wicked fast. He almost beat out a grounder this weekend that he had no business doing so. So it's just about the fact that maybe the veterans, which we can get to in a second here, need to step up a little bit as we get into this Las Vegas Classic. But I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from these young guys, and I think it's an important part of this team. And Randy, as we're talking about some of these reassuring signs, maybe we can jump to some issues. I know you mentioned maybe the command of some of the pitchers, but what are some things that are still kind of leaving some meat on the bone for Texas that need to improve as the season goes on?
I'll say one thing jumping off of what you said right there before I jump on that. But I think Adrian Rodriguez probably got off to about as bad of a start as you could possibly get off to. And the fact that it did not shake him or phase him in at one bit, the type of player and the type of confidence he has in himself and that other people have in him. And that goes a long way, just leading others and things of that nature. So just all credit to him for that, because that could have went sideways real quick. But and just continue doing his thing, and now he's second in average and moving forward on that. Potential issues, I think we got to play great defense on the infield. I mean, Flores has a couple errors already. One of them was kind of a tough play. The other one's a good play he's got to make, and he knows it. But if you're going to roll pitchers out there that are going to induce 60% ground balls, you got to make the plays. So, you're going to have to field at an elite level to make that a calling card of your team. So I think you have the athletes and the talent to do so. Obviously, we're 7 games in the year, 6 games in the year, so numbers are skewed at this point. But that's going to have to be something that they that they shore up and play great defense moving forward, especially on the infield. And then like to see a little bit more out of Galvan and whoever else catches behind the plate. Just kind of, I think he had one throwing error. He had a throwing error in the alumni game. So I mean that's just free bases you can't afford to give away there. So I mean he's a talented kid. He's been here. He knows what he has to do moving forward. But I think he can handle the staff and all of those things. But if he can limit people in the running game and do a great job of framing and all the other things that come along with catching, I think that's another X factor moving forward that he can improve upon. And other than that, offensively, it's just going to be timely hitting. You got to be able to get those 2-strike hits and stuff in the college game. It's just part of it. Yeah, you're going to have those days where you go out there and you bash and you win 10-6 or 10-4 or whatever it is. But like Nash was talking about a while ago, the margin for error in the SEC is slim. So hey, can you get that dirt ball read where your guy gets to second base and that little flare to right scores a run instead of making it first and third? Things of that nature. Just taking those little incremental things and improving upon taking any advantage you can moving forward. I think it's a team that's going to have to do that. There's a lot of talent on the team, but I don't think you're going to be able to roll into the SEC and just out talent people. You're going to have to play the game of baseball better than them.
Yeah, some early issues that I kind of have seen is really on the offensive side. We got to stop making pitchers feel like they're Cy Young Award winners, right? Like this got to stop. All the while we're also hitting the crap out of the ball. This is like, you look at the strikeout percentages. There's 3 guys that come to my head immediately. You got Rylan Galvan, Tommy Farmer, and Jalen Flores. All those dudes are in 33 to 38% strikeout rate. And those guys are all, when you're talking about Rylan Galvan and Jalen Flores, when they put the ball in play, they have a 333 batting average. That's great. Tommy Farmer, he's batting 429, and honestly, just like Adrian Rodriguez, Tommy Farmer had a terrible start to the year, and he picked it up, and he's been a really solid contributor for us. Coming down the Dartmouth game stretch, but. This is, you got to cut down on the swing and miss, right? Because, the one thing that also will kill you as a coach too is if you don't swing at the ball. There's, a coach will take strikeouts, right? But at least swing at the damn thing, right? Like at least try to hit the ball. But outside of that, I mean, we're hitting the ball really well. It's just got to cut down on swing and miss. And if we get rid of those early issues, man, this could be a really, really good hitting team. And then on to go on to the issues towards like the defense, and I think you kind of nailed the defense pretty much there. We didn't talk about an early reassuring sign, but I guess to counter the defense, Kimball Schuessler at first base has been amazing at first. I think he is first base is one of those positions where you either got a natural feel for it or you don't. Right? It's like, it may be a little bit different with that little green bag that they have on the side there now, and collisions and all that stuff. Well, I'm not going to even get into that. It ain't baseball anymore. But aside from that, I think that you've seen a lot of stuff, a lot of positive stuff with the starting pitchers, throwing a lot of strikes, getting a lot of ground balls. If we can get that with some of these later guys, that would be add those to the early reassuring signs.
Yeah, I think to just kind of sum up what I was going to say, what I think all of us are feeling in this is that Texas baseball's given their opponents a lot of freebies this year. They're averaging over an error a game. I think I saw that there's 33 free passes between the hit by pitches and walks that have been given to the batters. And, teams aren't going to not swing the bat like Dartmouth did this weekend. Dartmouth was chasing those hit by pitches, chasing those walks. Still a lot of freebies from that point. And then, Tommy Farmer striking out because he didn't step into the box, taking some called strike threes. Those are things that need to be ironed out. And I think that the 2 players that are really frustrating me the most, and I think it's going to be the same thing that a lot of fans are saying, is Jalen Flores and Rylan Galvan. Randy pointed it out. The catcher defense has to be better from a player who's been catching consistently for 3 years. And it's being the throwing errors on kind of unforced rushing throws is a problem from Galvan. And I don't want him to feel like his job is completely won because, this is a new coach and he brought in Chamberlain. You've got Oliver Service, who they've been raving about having a fantastic fall. So, Galvan's got to step up at the plate and behind the dish. And Jalen Flores, man, you were one of the best hitters in the country last year at the shortstop position. And it seems like anytime a pitcher throws a high fastball to you, it's just lights out. So he's right now at a 513 OPS. He's had, the strikeout numbers haven't been terrible. It's 9, which is not great to start the year. But it's more so that he's just not getting any power. He's not generating any extra base hits. And that's something you expect from such a big player at the shortstop position. So I'd like to see a little bit more from those two veterans, because if the youngsters, the Gasparinos and the Rodrigos are playing this well, then you think this offense is going to be fully humming as the year goes on. But Flores can't take this step back. He can't afford it for his own stock and for Texas's stock.
Yeah, no, I think it's two guys that you need to play well for this team to go where it wants to go. And to get back what we were saying earlier, I think as veterans that have had success, they've earned the right to play through it. But I don't think Schlossnagle will hang around without improvement. And I think there's people behind them now pushing them, whereas, maybe that wasn't the case in years past. But, I think anybody that falls into a lull, I said, you've earned the right to play your way through it at this point in Schlossnagle's eyes. But I don't think that he's the type of guy to hang around and let it slide just because of loyalty to an older player. So, it'll be about winning games, and it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say after Arlington, I wouldn't throw anything other than a high fastball on a 2-strike count. They were chasing.
Yep. And speaking of Arlington, as you do have Incarnate Word, which, as our board members pointed out to me, you can't just call that a free win after what happened in Aggieland.
Hey, they've been playing some decent baseball. Like, they've been granted it's like Abilene Christian stuff, but they're beating the crap out of their opponents. Yeah,
this is not a Tuesday team to completely scoff at, and it's one that you're going to see Jason Flores make his first start in, which we were hoping for last week after the canceled game. But we're going to throw it to this Las Vegas Classic, which you can see they're going to be traveling to Las Vegas Ballpark. It's going to be on D1 Baseball for those who are already annoyed about Flow Sports. So try your best to find a way to watch these games. But you've got Washington on Friday, you got Texas Tech on Saturday, and Illinois on Sunday. And not to downplay the strength of these teams. Obviously, Texas Tech is a former Big 12 opponent of Texas, but they're coming in with a combined record of, I want to say 7-12 was the number. Yeah, 7-12. It looks like Illinois has been the best opponent so far, but even they have dropped games to Abilene Christian at Texas State. So what are some early vibes, some early things that you're looking for, Randy, with this team as they head into Las Vegas, where you're not playing an SEC opponent, you're maybe not playing an Oklahoma State level caliber team?
Yeah, I think sort of Schloss kind of hit on it in that first deal. I think this is kind of more along the lines of how he would have preferred to open the season with, opponents of, you're not playing the Sisters of the Poor, but you're also not running into, perennial top arms and USA guys to, I don't think anybody wants to start the season off with a USA baseball guy on the mound pumping 97. But, I think it gives you an opportunity to see good competition. There's going to be quality arms, quality players at those programs, get you a little different atmosphere, and it gives you opportunity to continue to improve upon the things that we've talked about already, and do so against somebody that's, not wearing the same color as you and all those things. And plus you get to go hang out in Vegas for a weekend. So.
Well, players don't get to have that much fun. That's more for the fans.
That's true. What time are games? 6, 4, and 11? Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, no. If they're not in the hotel room after the game, there might be a couple lineup changes on the next day. I'll say, to kind of echo what you just said. When you're playing in the SEC, right? These are the type of schedules that you want. You want some where, for example, some of the early issues that we've seen, Texas has plenty to work on right now, and this is a great time to work on that and get those reps in, because there's a difference between, obviously baseball is a little bit different than football. You're not hitting each other, so you can kind of do a live inter squad, and you can have a little bit. It can be closer towards a actual kind of game flow. But there's a different feeling when the game is on the line and you're actually playing for something that matters. And earlier teams, you want to kind of get a little bit softer opponents. You've seen pretty much every SEC school does this, and that's because the SEC it's a grind when you get there. It's really hard to win out there.
Well, and from a Texas standpoint too, I mean, you're going into a season with your Friday guys a relief pitcher from Indiana State, your Saturday guys coming off of an injury, your Sunday guy right now we're still kind of up in the air as to what we're going to do there. So this gives you the opportunity to do those things while you're still kind of feeling your way through it and to set yourself up. You obviously want to play some people early to test yourself and find out things about you. But once this thing gets rolling and we're moving in, hopefully you get more in a program standpoint where we're slotting guys up a day or 2 days in the rotation, and hey, this middle reliever is slotted for this, and you don't quite have the question marks that we have right now.
Yeah, and you're talking. Slosh Nichols talked a lot about RPI actually early in this year, which you love to hear a coach that appreciates both the advanced analytics and understands their value in seeding and getting towards regionals. And Homer, if you want to pull up the poll tracker, this is something that we've been working on. Nash has been getting on this just to see how it's been gauged. And we have the new preseason poll, or the preseason polls have already been dropped, obviously, but the new polls that came out today have Baseball America has us at 12, D1 Baseball Texas 15th, and Perfect Game all the way up at number 6. Kind of a big difference in the polls for Perfect Game compared to the other two, but consensusly, this is a top 15 team in the sport wants to be pushing to host it come the postseason. And Randy, what's your take on some of these rankings? And are you close to that number 6 spot? Are you close to that number 15? Even farther than that? What are you seeing from this Texas team?
Yeah, I would lend myself more into that 12 to 15 range. I don't doubt that this team can play at a number 6 level on any given day. I just have to see it more consistently over time before I would buy into that. But I mean, the talent's there for it to take off and to get there for sure. I mean, that's sort of, when you get into, the professional ranks or whatever, that's what you're buying. You're buying consistency and certainty with all these contracts and stuff that you see thrown away now, or thrown all over the place now. So, can they play at a number 6 or even higher level? Absolutely they can. But I would need to see it on a consistent basis more before I would buy into that. But I think 12 to 15 is perfectly reasonable with where they're at right now. Still some questions moving forward, but can they play into a top 10 ranking at some point? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Perfect Game is pretty bullish on Texas, pretty much all off season and heading into the season. How much that is, it doesn't feel like a lot of that is earned. It feels like, but we'll see. To really again hammer home what you just said, the coaches poll which just got released today, just like a few minutes ago, they have Texas at 14th, and these are baseball coaches. So this is I mean that this kind of feels pretty much where Texas is rightfully at, 12 to 15, and obviously with the schedule that we have in the SEC, if you go win games, all that stuff isn't going to matter. We will end up at the top if we keep on winning baseball games.
Yeah, and at this point of the year, teams have already started to get their blemishes. Quite a few one-loss teams are going to be in this top 10. It feels like only really Tennessee, North Carolina, some of the Florida schools are the ones that have really just been perfect to start this year. But Texas losing one game in extra innings, played Dartmouth close, but it's just showing that really from that 3 to 20 range, there's going to be a lot of movement throughout the start of the year. And so I think, that Perfect Game number is probably a little too heady to start the year. But say it's 10 games from now and Texas hasn't lost and they've beaten, they've got through the Las Vegas Classic quickly. They're about to play at Mississippi State. Who knows where they could be ranked at that point of the year. But I tend to agree with Randy. Especially if these players, the veterans, aren't going to play the way that we'd maybe hope for, and the pitching staff is a lot of brand new faces and a lot of guys who aren't long-term starters. How's that going to play in the SEC? It's probably the biggest team with question marks when it comes to the Friday and Saturday starters in its top 15. So, Schloss Nichols obviously got Perfect Games back on the rankings, but I think the coaches in D1 baseball and the really big associations are going to have their reservations about this team until they see it really. But I think starting top 15 with a brand new head coach is already a great start for this team. And I think that is all the time we have here, unless I'm missing that. I don't think so. We got about 45 minutes of baseball talking here, so that was a great time, Randy. I really appreciate you coming on, and obviously Inside Texas Baseball. This will not be the last you hear from us. Nash and I are going to be all over the baseball team this year. I'll be covering from up in the press box. Nash is going to be pumping out all of the work on Twitter and all the writing he's been doing. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. It's a brand new era in Texas baseball. So any last words from you, Randy and Nash?
I'll go ahead. I
I'm
mean, like I said, I think I can speak for a lot of the alumni. I think we're excited about the direction of the program. We thank you guys and other people out there that are kind of shedding even more light upon college baseball. I think it's great for the sport. I love the sport. I think it's, Augie said it once that, professional baseball is a game of perfection. College baseball is a game of imperfection. So it's a little more exciting at times. But the stories and everything are great. And like I said, I'm excited to watch this team grow. I think it can be a great team if they continue to take steps in the right direction. But just overall, I think the program's headed in the great direction, and glad that we have the excitement around it and the following around it. And Texas baseball fans are the best. And you guys, if you can jump on the NIL bandwagon out there, great. If not, go park yourself in a seat at Dish Falk and enjoy the game and enjoy the team. I think it'll be a good one to watch.
Yeah, to build on that, I mean, the excitement this program is headed. It feels like it's headed to a really good place. I don't think Randy would have expected when he left Texas that 2005 would be the last national championship team in 2025. So hopefully we can add another one onto that, but we'll see. Things are looking exciting on this.
Yeah,
There's plenty of
100%.
room on that wall out there. We can add some more
Yeah,
numbers.
there's a lot of room.
Let's get some painters involved.
And
we need
of
more
course, trying to
banding.
at least add the College World Series appearance this year would be a big one. Well, I think that's all the time we have here today. Thank you so much to both of you for all the great points and a lot of great talk about Texas baseball. They've got that Tuesday game coming up against Incarnate Word, and then they're heading to Vegas this weekend. So make sure you're checking out the baseball team. Make sure you're checking out Inside Texas, our boards. It's a great community we got going on there. A lot of great articles, especially if you're into football, basketball. Got that all covered at this time of the year. So have a good day for everyone who's watching along, and see you guys next week.